Hi, this is Lindsay from Essential Living, and today it's time to get personal. There will be no funny hats or subtitles or cool editing or music, just me, my iPhone, and my story. So as many of you know, 2 weeks from today, I will be getting a cochlear implant. I wanted to share my journey with you in hopes of helping someone in a similar situation or someone just going through a really rough time. All right, so let's get to it, my story. I've pretty much never had good hearing. When I was 17, my hearing in my right ear went completely out one day and just never came back. And there was no rhyme or reason as to why, it just went out. But because I only had one-sided deafness, it was pretty easy for me to go about my daily life. In fact, I kind of have a funny story for you. My friends and I in high school, because my vision wasn't very good either, and I had to wear contacts, but I really didn't like wearing contacts, and I didn't want to wear my glasses out on like a Friday night. So I had really bad vision and not so great hearing. So I was pretty much a hot mess. My friends and I just kind of made fun of it and just went about our lives. We'll cut to a year ago around this time. It was about 10 days after my son was born. And I remember sitting in my kitchen talking to my mom about how sore I was after pushing out an 8.5-pound baby. And all of a sudden, the hearing in my left goes. Not completely, but enough to make me be very concerned. And it turns out that I had moderate hearing loss in the left ear. So between my right-sided deafness and my moderate hearing loss, my life was quite an adjustment. I was upset at first, I was really bummed out, like certain things didn't sound the same. It was harder to communicate. However, I was able to wear hearing aids. So I got these cute little red hearing aids that matched my hair. I rocked those and pretty much went on with my life, and things were good. Then in December of this year, my hearing 2 days after Christmas got profoundly worse. I went in to get my hearing tested, and I had a 4% word recognition. And that means that I can only understand about 4% of what people are saying to me. After that, life became very difficult and was fraught with challenges. I can't listen to music. I can't hear my kids unless they're standing right in front of me. Can't talk on the phone. That's a hard one because I used to love to talk on the phone. And hearing men's voices is extremely hard for me. So my husband's voice and my dad's voice are the ones that I probably miss the most. So after dealing with all of that, I became very sad and very depressed. I started to mourn the loss of all the things that I loved. So I felt in a sense that all these things were stolen from me. And I went a couple months just being sad and depressed about it. And then one day, it was almost like a light bulb went off. I went, you know what? I'm 38. I have 3 kids. I have a beautiful life to live. And that's what I'm going to do. So I started text messaging. I started listening to some music that I could actually hear. I told all my friends and family to be sure to face me when they talk to me. And no matter how nerve-wracking it was, I would go out in public and do the things that I normally did. And I would just have to remind people to please speak loudly because I can't hear very well. But I do have to say, despite all the challenges that this hearing loss has brought, it is giving me a hell of a lot of perspective. Like, I used to get really trapped in what I like to call this hamster wheel thinking, where I would ruminate about the littlest things that don't matter. I'm type A, I'm neurotic, I'm a perfectionist. So I like to have all my ducks in a row. And what this has taught me is that I really need to keep my eye on the prize. So before I had my hearing loss, I would get really upset about simple things like my kids would have maybe their clothes on backwards or their pants inside out. Their pants on inside out. That's really hard to say. And I always had to have my underwear neatly folded and put away perfectly in my drawer. My kitchen was always spotless before I dropped the kids off for school every day. Well, now things have changed. I now have this higher calling, and that is my health. and to keep myself healthy and my family healthy. And that is first and foremost. Everything else kind of has to move to the side. So I'm happy to report that sometimes my kids go to school looking like Punky Brewster, and that's okay. And sometimes my clothes and underwear hang on the rack for days on end. That's also okay. And I'm kind of embarrassed to report that there's sometimes kale particles stuck to the inside of my sink, but that's also okay. Because my mission in life, again, is to focus on my health. All right, so now that you've heard a little bit about my story, I want to share with you how I cope. And I'm going to use a little analogy, if I may. So let's pretend any challenge that you face or hardship is like a poop sundae. So a poop sundae has been delivered to your table. I personally think it's very important to recognize that you are dealing with a poop sundae. This is not a good situation. I think if you ignore it or pretend it doesn't exist or try to have too positive of a explanation, that it will end up coming back to bite you. So I think it's really important to acknowledge, this is crappy, I've been dealt a bad hand, here's my poop sundae. But what helped me is to actually find the little pieces of chocolate that are around the poop, preferably not touching the poop. And those little pieces of chocolate, these are things that I love to do, things that give me life, things that give me hope and help me survive. So for instance, taking a nature walk with my kids, love doing that. Doing CrossFit, now I do it in my garage. And watching Housewives with the subtitles. Love watching Housewives with the subtitles. However, I have to say that sometimes they talk so darn fast that the subtitles can't catch up, and so that's ridiculous. Okay, so all those 3 things I mentioned are the little pieces of chocolate around that poop sundae. So what I encourage you to do is focus on those. Savor those. Put those in your memory so that when you're having a really hard day where you don't even want to get out of bed, you can think about them. You can access them. All right, so that's my story and that's my philosophy on life. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And if you're struggling with something difficult, especially hearing loss or a cochlear implant, and you feel comfortable enough, please, please, please reach out to me. I think it's so important that we form a community and we talk about our successes and our failures and just tips for getting by. You can find me on YouTube at Essential Living, same as Facebook, and then Instagram's a little different. It's EL_made simple. So I definitely encourage you to message me and I would love to hear from you. All right, that's it for this week. Stay tuned for my second installment of my cochlear implant journey, where I'll be actually showing you my implant and how it works and answering some of the most common questions that I get. Until then, have a wonderful day and we'll talk soon. Bye.